Okay, dokie. What we only have 3 resolutions today because most of the ones that were proposed midweek got withdrawn for whatever reasons. Greetings, delegations from around the world. Welcome to New York City. Allow me to introduce our first United Nations resolution, which shall be UN Joint Resolution 2003, Hungary and Japan, a greener, brighter future for future generations. We invite the representative from Hungary to come and represent their resolution, please. Thank you. You have a minute and a half.
Honorable Chair, esteemed delegates, the environment is the foundation of life on Earth, and its protection is critical for the well being of current and future generations. It is no secret that every nation and every power on planet Earth are rapidly industrializing at never again seen scale. And it's important to lay down some steps yet again, as the United Nations did back in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro. I would like to see all of the nations of the world united, take a stance about a world, better world that we will be able to give to our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now invite any representatives who wish to speak on this resolution. Representation from Angola.
Yes, this is a truly laudable goal, of course, from Hungary and Japan. My only question in regards to it, as it encourages green energy development, that will there be any compensation or assistance towards the developing emerging world in constructing said facilities? Normally, for us, this would be a very challenging effort compared to the modern technology and rich nations of the West. So that is our only concern as we speak for other emerging nations who would also have incredible difficulties of constructing these facilities by themselves without us. So I'm just imposing that question. Thank you for your time. I see there.
Thank you. We now invite the representative from Brazil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to thank the honorable representative from Angola for coming up here and addressing that matter. And this is part of the reason why we have volunteered to speak. The Federative Republic of Brazil has launched what we call Project Brazil Africa 2005. And as part of that project, we are actively going across Africa and offering up investments. We are more than willing to offer up investments in renewable energy to assist Angola and other emerging economies that are in need of this. Brazil has also, under the presidency of President Lula, set aside over 200 additional acres of rainforest protection, and we hope to have over 1,000 acres set aside as protected rainforest land in Brazil before the end of the decade. Thank you, and I yield my time.
Thank you. We now invite the representative from Peru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So one of the biggest concerns I have with this resolution is when calling out the global framework for how these will work, this resolution will work. Our greatest concern is how exactly do we expect these member states to pay for this resolution? A lot of emerging states can't afford this resolution. And is there a requirement in order for anybody to accept this resolution? Is there a requirement that we would have to follow of like donating toward our GDP, or I feel like this is kind of vague. If maybe the delegate from Hungary could possibly explain, rather than just kind of we just feel this is vague. Honestly, if they could just elaborate, that'd be great. Thank you I yield my time.
We invite Hungary to elaborate very quickly.
Yes, I would like to thank, from my part, the representatives of Angola and Peru for posing the same question. It is a matter that both the governments of Japan and Hungary thought about. The answer is that in the first point that we present, the global framework. We implore the world governments to work together in association with each other, discovering the capabilities and the weaknesses that each country possesses in order to fill the gaps presented in environmental protection laws worldwide so we can achieve a greener future for the world. Thank you.
Thank you. We now invite the representative from the Netherlands.
Hello, and thank you for having me. Our most biggest concern is the payment for this program. Yes, it is a great program to develop all the world and help people in need, but humanitarian aid is already something that happens commonly and that we contribute in. What exactly are we supposed to do with this resolution? It does not detail anything other than establishing another organization, which increases the amount of humanitarian aid we're going to need to do, without telling us exactly how much. It seems like this is a financial trap for bigger countries. Thank you.
Thank you. We now invite the representative from Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We don't believe it is a trap. We believe that this is a goal for a better common future. And from our part, we are ready to join our very generous Brazilian counterparts. And Japan, as a global player, would be more than happy and able to either invest these said renewable energies in the countries who are open to participate it, or to finance such power plants to construct. We believe that there is a will, there will be end results, and we urge countries like the Netherlands not to view this as a trap of finances, but to work together for a more green and livable common future. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other speakers that wish to have a chance at the floor, okay, we invite the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
The DPRK simply wishes to question the feasibility of this resolution's implementation across the world, merely due to the fact that, well, cost issues are an issue that are brought up by multiple other representatives before me. Another question would be, how exactly would we be wiring this? Because wiring is incredibly expensive, and specifically, I believe solar energy requires higher voltage wiring in comparison to fossil fuels, which require less maintenance overall. So again, how exactly would we be paying for this? I'm all for it, but it's a question of money. That's it. I cede my time.
Thank you. We'll now move along to the voting stage. If you have not casted your vote already, then you have 10 seconds to do so. All right, resolution passes with 27 in favor, 12 abstentions, and 6 opposed. The matter of how it will be financed shall most likely come up at a later time. Moving on to our next resolution, we're going to United Nations General Assembly Resolution 42069. We now invite the Italian representative to the stage.
After in-depth conversation and discussion with the NATO delegates, a consensus has been achieved that the full withdrawal of Yugoslavian forces and military assets within Kosovo is absolutely necessary, and it's a non-starter. However, we would like to proceed with a United Nations sponsored and United Nations oversight of a referendum within the Kosovo region. However, this must be done without a Yugoslavian military force there to prevent this from falling into any unfair or biased situation. They have 3 options that will be available to them: independence, autonomy within Yugoslavia, which is status quo, or complete reintegration in Yugoslavia, which is what they are proceeding for now. This is absolutely essential. Something has to be done. we don't believe a immediate military intervention is necessary. However, we need the United Nations and NATO to come together to come to an agreement. This needs to stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now recognize the speaker from the United States of America.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the words shared by our Italian allies. This is not a resolution against Yugoslavia. This is not a resolution against Kosovo. This is a resolution for the people living in Kosovo. Yugoslavia has used the trust of the NATO alliance to annex the region that was formerly autonomous and protected by KFOR troops. 30 KFOR troops are dead because of the Yugoslav actions. NATO could have decided a way different path. We could have decided for something completely else. But we want to give the people of Kosovo a voice. They have the option to become either independent, keep the status quo, or become a full integrated part of Yugoslavia. This will be done genuinely and safely with the priority of the people's will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now recognize a speaker from India.
Thank you. India is very confused not only at the amount of interest shown in this General Assembly by the constant submissions of applications on this matter, but also on the massive showcase of support of a nation basically being treated by the EU and NATO, or EU and the UN, as a recognized nation, which has never been the case for Kosovo. They are not recognized, and yet they are being treated like a recognized nation. The fact that multiple times force has been threatened against Yugoslavia on this issue means that there is no way India can believe in good faith that actual referendums will be held on this issue without either some bias held by the people within the region due to constant military outside intervention or issues inside. We hold great issue with how this is being handled, and we believe that this matter has already been resolved.
Thank you. We now recognize the speakers from Yugoslavia.
Dear delegates, the identity of Serbianism originates in the province of Kosovo. Our culture, language, customs, and religion originates from Kosovo. Kosovo has been a part of Serbia for tens of centuries. Should all this be forgotten because a minority migrated in the region in the 19th and 20th century? There is no international law that permits secessionist terroristic organizations to hold referendums to create their own countries. This is a horrible and extremely destabilization for any multicultural nations, and it will have terrible consequences for the future. This is not Tito or Milosevic Yugoslavia. This is Yugoslavia for the people, by the people, of the people. All cultures and ethnicities are treated fairly. We went into Kosovo to dismantle a terrorist state that was backing brutal organizations that were seeking the death of the ethnic Serbians of the region. The Finnish resolution failed. The Japanese resolution failed because the majority of the nations recognized that this is an internal issue that should be handled by our nation. Just like French internal issues are handled by the French and Chinese internal issues are handled by the Chinese. We have even offered that UN observers remain in the region for a period of 5 years to monitor the transition of governorship back into Serbia with significant autonomy of Kosovo. Thank you.
Thank you. And might I make just a statement for the Assembly saying sanctions have affected Yugoslavian microphones, so this is why the quality was a little poor. So we now move along to the representatives from Angola.
Thank you, delegates. The Westphalian system, known as Westphalian sovereignty, is a cornerstone of international law and relations. This concept states that each state has exclusive sovereignty over its own territory. Kosovo is considered part of Yugoslavia and Yugoslavian territory. Therefore, according to international law principles that has been established by this treaty back in 1648, that this is an internal affair for the Yugoslavian government. Therefore, other nations threatening sanctions and war over it is a violation of national sovereignty and an attempt at colonial and neo-imperialism upon the Yugoslavian people by directly interfering in their internal affairs. Thank you. I cede the rest of my time.
Thank you. We now recognize the speakers from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
The DPRK originally stood firmly with the international community on this issue. However, the lack of tact and lack of ability to take the law when it comes to multiple attempted resolutions that did not work and that were repeatedly voted against leads the DPRK to question why the international community is even continuing to float these. What is the point of this? Is this just terrorism in the form of paper? I cede my time.
Thank you. We now recognize a speaker from Brazil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me begin by stating that we do believe that the United States, Italy, and the NATO powers have valid concerns, and that must be considered here. We must respect that they are only attempting to enforce what they believe are violations of human rights. However, we are uncomfortable with this. We would like to see the territorial integrity of Yugoslavia maintained. But we cannot ignore it. Italy and the United States have raised valid points, and that must be recognized. We feel that perhaps some sort of compromise could be reached here, but again, we don't know. We don't have any vehicle for that going forward. But we would remind the delegates that the concerns raised by Italy and the United States are valid and do need to be taken into consideration. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. We now recognize the speakers from Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We wish to join our Brazilian colleagues as well, that it is a real issue that was raised by the various resolutions today. It only showcased the various resolution that was withdrawn today and showcased today only show us that the global community truly cares about Kosovo. We only wish to bring the attention to the fact that the Yugoslav government also know that they are at fault. They just launched a full military operation against their own people. And now, in order to save face in the United Nations, they are even participating actively in international bribery, as we saw it in the case of the Democratic Republic of Congo. So we urge every country and every member of the United Nations in this chamber to support this Italian resolution and support the people of Kosovo. Thank you.
We now recognize the speaker from Pakistan.
Dear delegates, how can we trust that this government will not perpetrate another genocide just as the 90s? We admit Pakistan is deep mistrust of the current government, and there's a reason why we have guaranteed not only Bosnia, but are considering the guarantee of other Muslim nations which we consider threatened. We deem Kosovo, which is a Muslim majority region, inhabited by Albanians. How can we trust that these people will not suffer another genocide just as they have before? How can we, in good conscience, really know what the government of Yugoslavia is doing in these lands? We hold the firm belief that Muslims and minorities worldwide should be protected and have the self-determination respected, just as they should be everywhere in the world. Pakistan firmly stands on the side that Kosovo should be released, or at least have a referendum conducted. I seek my time.
Thank you. We now recognize a speaker from the People's Republic of China.
Thank you, the delegate. China believes that this resolution is not something that should be passed, as we believe that sets a dangerous precedent for other regions in the world. As such, China is not willing to support or entertain this resolution at all. Kosovo has been an integral part of Yugoslavia and by extension also by Serbia. We believe that the Yugoslavian government did everything in its power to resolve this peacefully. It was insurgencies that basically killed the status quo and declared war against Yugoslavia, and Yugoslavia has every right in the world to curb those insurrection at any cost, even with military force. China wants also to make everyone aware that currently there's a crisis going on in the Taiwanese Strait,
That is your time.
which, well, yeah, I see
You
my
can
time.
always speak at the UNSC if you want to raise another issue. We now recognize the speakers from Peru.
And time again, that we encourage sovereignty of territories. We expect that the UN realize that the Yugoslavians need to tend to their own matters. As we've seen, there have been many resolutions over the exact same matter been passed, and it seems that we as an assembly cannot agree on how to proceed on this matter. It is in our opinion that this resolution, especially to remind those who abstain, should not be passed because the UN has varying matters of this position. And effectively, it's saying that any resolution that we've passed would have been ignored. We'd like to echo what our Cuban colleagues have said, that it violates Article 2.4 of the UN Charter that prohibits force against a territory that has a dependence of state, and Kosovo is not recognized as an independent state. And therefore, if we intervene on this conflict, we are effectively breaching what we actually were founded on as a United Nations Assembly. This sets a very dangerous precedent for all ongoing resolutions that may be passed down the line, as we're advocating for people ignoring the UN Charter in itself. We understand that there were good intentions, but this just does not seem like something that we would support. And I cede my time.
Thank you. We now recognize the speaker from Germany.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Here, delegates, I would like to begin by saying that the United Nations Security Council in 1999, underneath Resolution 1244, has already decreed on this matter that no federal or Republic of Serbia troops should be within Kosovo. This is in direct violation of United Nations Security Council sanctioned against Yugoslavia. They are now in violation of this resolution. If they continue to not withdraw their troops, we will be forced to issue sanctions, and we would like the General Assembly to follow suit. The matter of Kosovo independence is the matter to be decided with Yugoslavia so long as there is substantial autonomy and meaningful self-administration for Kosovo, as was determined in Resolution 1244. I cede the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll finish off with Yugoslavia just for the sake of time while I fixes that. We now recognize the speaker from Angola.
Yes, once again, I would like to point out that the United Nations itself, enshrined in its charter, underlies the modern international system of sovereign states based on the aforementioned Westphalian system. Therefore, I believe that this resolution is actually in violation of those very principles by crossing into the territory of interfering in the internal affairs of another nation without that nation's approval. Therefore, we find this a violation of the very charter of which this organization stands for. Therefore, we must encourage all nations to vote against this particular amendment. Thank you for your time. And I say the rest of mine.
Thank you. We now recognize the speaker from South Africa.
Thank you. We have a few quick points to make. Firstly, we would like to agree with our Angolan colleague on the principle of the statehood and that it should be Yugoslavia's business to deal with on its own. Secondly, I would just like to not have the United Nations misled by the Japanese delegate. There is no, after he did share what evidence they have with us, there is no concrete evidence that Yugoslavia conspired with the Congo to buy any kind of vote for the Yugoslavians' benefit. There is no evidence for that, to be fair. Thirdly, why are we having this conversation? It's bizarre. I hope that everybody that votes for this would also consider voting for, I don't know, why don't we put a resolution forward for the United Kingdom to release their holdings in Northern Ireland? Is it not the same principle? A statehood from their nation that they are sovereign over? What are we doing? It's bizarre. You could come up with hundreds of examples of the same thing everywhere in the world. We have no right to do this. I see my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the representative from Yugoslavia still present? If not, then we shall move along to the voting stage. We would like to remind the Assembly that this would set a very dangerous precedent for any nation which would fall victim of future resolutions such as this. And let it be known that there is no nation which would be safe from these kind of resolutions if they were to be imposed upon you. Okay, we now recognize the speaker from Yugoslavia for a final statement.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Much, much better, yeah.
Okay. It's a Serbian telephone. Well, dear delegates, I would like to remind everyone that we had the permission from K4 to enter into the DMZ in order to eliminate the Albanian terrorist organization that was killing all the Serbian population. And while we're in that operation, we found concrete evidence that the Kosovo government was indeed collaborating with these terrorist organizations. They were supplying them with money that we provided to the Kosovars to help them financially and with military weapons. Due to this reason, we entered swiftly to handle the situation, and we successfully brought down the terrorist backing government. As we have stated before, Yugoslavia is a new modern democracy. We respect all ethnicities and all cultures, and we repeat that we invite UN observers for a period of at least 5 years to monitor the reintegration of Kosovo into the Republic of Serbia with significant autonomous powers, which both the Kosovars want and we want, to have a peaceful collaboration between the province and the region. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Resolution fails with 22 against, 21 in favor, and 6 abstentions. I will write that in just a second. But we shall move along to our final resolution, which was submitted on time. I now recognize the speaker from Pakistan to...
Dear delegates, having just Pakistan is an emerging democracy that has just come off the chains of the shackles of a military government. This unfortunately includes the instability that naturally comes with a transition of such a state. And as such, there still linger terrorist remains, especially within the countryside of Pakistan. And as such, we deem it necessary to invite a UN task force to deal with these terrorists in conjunction with Pakistani security forces. Terrorism remains a nuisance on the world, and one that Pakistan is more than willing to fight. I cede my time.
Thank you. We now recognize the speaker from Brazil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The scourge of terrorism is something that Brazil does not directly know, but we have a similar scourge in cartels in Latin America. They have been a stain on our nation's legacy for some time. Anything that we can do to alleviate this crisis will be beneficial. However, Brazil would like to urge that strong commitments towards peaceful solutions when possible and a development and expansion of the Pakistani welfare system to help alleviate those who are drawn to these organizations would also be most beneficial. Brazil is willing to assist in that regard if assistance is required. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I cede the rest of my time.
Thank you. We now recognize the speakers from India.
Thank you. These resolutions are held as a very important matter to India. India has a long time been monitoring situations within Pakistan and can confirm the continued existence of major worldwide terrorist organization cells, including the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, who still operate within the regions of Pakistan, although we wish to make this clear that we do not believe presently that the present Pakistan government has anything to do with these. These are reminders or remainders of previous actions undertaken and are residuals of hiding within mountains and other regions. That is why it is important to use UN peacekeepers to forcefully remove these areas. And if done successfully, there is a possibility of still catching some of the world's top terrorists who we believe are still hidden within these mountains. We yield our time.
Thank you. We now recognize the speaker from Libya.
All my brothers and sisters, Allahu Akbar to all of you. Yes, I would like to speak because I understand the matter of terrorism very well. Recently, Libya was hit with one of the greatest acts of terrorism themselves, and the dirty people from Czechia have stricken and burnt the books of the great Muammar Gaddafi, my figure. And we are very saddened by it, but we understand that the anti-Muslim Muslim factions and all the terrorism against the Muslims are rising up. So we are standing strongly against all the terrorism in the world. Just as we stand against the 9/11, we are standing against every other terrorism as well. So we stand along with the terrorism that's going on in Czechia right now, and I hope that all the Europeans will prohibit it and will stand against with us, along with any other terrorism in the world. We are against.
Thank you, Mr. Gaddafi. We understand that you are against terrorism. We will now invite the representatives from Afghanistan.
Thank you. We also support this proposal, but we would like to make an amendment, and that is that the operation gets expanded to Afghanistan as well, as many of the terrorist groups operating in Pakistan operate in Afghanistan as well. That is all. I see my time.
Thank you. If you have not already, please be sure to vote on the amendment that Afghanistan just proposed. And if there are no other speakers, then we now will move along to the voting stage. Please vote on both the amendment and the actual resolution itself. All right, resolution passes with 43 in favor, 2 abstentions, and the amendment appears to pass as well with 16 in favor, and I would assume the rest are abstentions. We will now move along to the United Nations Security Council meeting. Should be Germany, Canada, Kenya, Iraq, and Singapore. And of course, the
Singapore was re-rolled. He asked for it, and it's Thailand.
I believe that Russia had a late submission to the General Assembly, but you guys can discuss it here if you wish.
Russia does not believe it is necessary for UN Security Council. So we will not be making any resolution about it. Or proposal.
America actually agrees.
Yeah,
We have
there's
to
nothing-
clear up some other things
they're way more
with
important
Chinese
things.
counterparts.
Yeah.
Well, if there was any other matter that the UNSC wishes to bring up, then do so now.
Well, the only concern that China has is the rushing of delegates to Taiwan. As we have clearly stated, this is something that we are not agree upon, but we're in a process right now in talking with our international partners to resolve this issue. So I think this forum is not the right forum right now.
It is not this right forum, but just because you brought it up, it were members of parliament of several nations, including the European Union, America, and some pseudo-nations, that visited Taipei for dialogue about economical cooperation, green energy, and chip production.
Then I think the international press should lower its fear mongering, because the intel we got right now indicated a massive anti-Chinese provocation against our nation, and our military is right now on high alert. Like we need to see this.
Were you considering shooting down the planes with the politicians of several nations?
No, we were not considering shooting down anything. We were just considering escorting them to make sure that they are not breaking into Chinese airspace.
I think they already know that they need to not enter any airspace. That's illegal. I don't think that's also the real reason.
Well, given the
it.
track record of NATO and America specifically, we don't really trust.
What do you mean with track record? Let's speak about the Chinese track record in Tibet and Xinjiang. If China wants to threaten us in the international stage and insult us, well, you just insulted us with some track record. We can always speak about your track record.
Who bombed our embassy in Yugoslavia? Who was that?
Who is conducting massacres in Tibet? Who was that, sir? Who was that?
Sir, who was
Let's
invading multiple countries without UN mandate?
China.
Who was invading? No.
Where was the UN mandate for Tibet, sir? Where was the UN mandate for that?
Tibet is a integral part of China, just as China's Taipei is.
The people
and
of
how did it
Tibet,
become so?
people of Tibet have no reasoning and no.
India recognized this fact, and we urge that our other
We-
partners in this international forum also recognize this fact.
We won't. Let's just keep this firstly to the resolutions and vetoings. I think this should be the first thing we need to address. Yeah, before we sprawl into just fist fighting.
If there's anything you would like to veto, then please do know.
Any nations?
We like to veto the Yugoslavian resolution, the resolution about Yugoslavia. That but
The resolution didn't even pass the general.
It didn't pass.
Past assembly, so you can't.
But if you still want to veto it, you can, of course.
Yeah, we veto this.
Even though that it didn't pass.
Oh, it didn't pass. Yeah, sorry, we didn't. Like I said, we have to deal with the crisis.
But
We
you know,
have to
you
deal
could
with the
always
crisis.
veto it as a show of solidarity if you really want. You know.
Yeah.
Anything else? What was else? What was pushed through? I mean, we have no problem with the energy things. We think the green energy initiative is great. Okay, in that case, maybe to resolve this, we would like to ask Russia what referendums were going on in the eastern Ukrainian territories.
Do we believe this is a matter for UN Security Council? Because we don't believe this is a matter that presents concern to all of the world. If you want to have personal diplomacy with us, we're happy to have private diplomacy or make public statements.
Well, we would like to ask you if you could say something to this, because in the UNSC there are also European powers such as France, and we would like to know if France would be interested in this, at least.
We would be happy to give a short breakdown of events as we understand them. Following the election or the election again of Poroshenko in Ukraine, mass protests erupted in Ukraine. In the east, west, and southern regions, 5 breakaway people's republics have declared independence from Ukraine, which Ukraine has declared war against 4 of them, recognizing or at least not doing hostile actions to the Crimean People's Republic. When Crimea was, immediately became free, within a week they sent word to the Russian Federation about issuing a referendum to become a republic within the Federation. This referendum passed overwhelmingly, and they have been accepted as a republic similar to Dagestan or Chechnya or many republics within the Federation. As for the other, republics that are fighting for independence in Ukraine, we are publicly supporting them and trying to mediate peace in this region. The violence is already spilling out across the border, and we're attempting to maintain peace, which we're making good strides and progress in. This is our public statement about the events in Ukraine as we see them.
Well, we will get a briefing about this, and we are, of course, ready to speak about it later.
Absolutely.
China just wants to add that the territorial integrity of Ukraine should be respected by all parties.
We agree.
Do
All
we have any more matters for UNSC?
It doesn't look like it.
All right.
No.
Thank
This
you.
meeting adjourned.
We shall see everybody in 2 years or a year, whenever the next one is.
Peace out.